Ghosts. Let's talk about something cool. Let's talk about ghosts. Ghosts have been around for a very long time, for way too long. They are spooky. They are very cool. We don't know much about them. Just think about it. The idea of ghosts has been encrypted in our DNA for some reason, because every culture, every part of the world has this idea that there are spooky things, spooky spirits that come alive at night and scare us, the living. And these cultures don't even need to be connected in order for the idea of a ghost to be shared around. It is something that we all know and will forever will know. And that is just not a coincidence to me. I need to know exactly what is it that we're looking at here. There are only two possibilities to this. Are we looking at delusion, or are we looking at something that could actually be true or is true? Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm competing against all the physicists, all the mathematicians, all the chemists, all those smart people in the world that are supposed to know this stuff. I'm competing against them. I see no problem in that, because they should be afraid of me. I am here to expose the truth of ghosts existing, and you're here to witness it, so you're welcome. We have the power of philosophy and the power of psychology, two very powerful things that leads us towards better and beautiful answers. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, really? Like, that is not going to tell me anything. Well, just think about psychology and philosophy as Shaq and Kobe. They are a deadly duel, and today marks the day we find out whether ghosts are real or not. That we have two type of people. We have the skeptic and we have the delusional, I guess. The difference between these two people are that the delusional would kind of be implemented with these ideas that ghosts are in fact real by their cultures, by their family members at a young age. I don't know about you, but like, whatever was implanted in me at a young age will never leave me till the day I die. I used to watch like these videos on YouTube that were like about people falling off roller coasters. It was like really bad CGI. This was like early YouTube, by the way. And to this day, I cannot get over the fear that actually that could actually happen. And like, I know it's not gonna happen. And in this case, we have people who believe in ghosts because their mommy and grandma would tell them ghost stories about El Cucuy or something like that. And the skeptics, they're not very introduced to that idea as a whole. Whether or not you're introduced to the idea of a ghost or not at a young age will determine whether or not you do believe in ghosts or just a little open to it. That is basic human psychology. Why are you telling me the obvious? Alright then. There's a funny effect known as the suggestion effect that I would like to talk about. The suggestion effect doesn't necessarily have to deal with ghosts. It has to deal with the fact that we kind of interpret things according to, of course, our perception. And these perceptions can be shifted by implementations of information. Now, let me give you the dictionary definition of this phrase. It is a phenomenon of when you or a group is exposed to information that will influence your perception or beliefs in a particular situation. I think about it right now. It makes me realize that, yeah, this is in fact true. I mean, this is psychology, don't get me wrong, but like, if we were to walk into an abandoned house and I were to tell you, hey, this house is haunted, you would automatically be like, psh, no, it's not. But like, subconsciously, whether what I said was true or not, you're going to start getting a little paranoid. You're going to start seeing things that are not really there, things that make you want to connect dots. That is, of course, it's just for survival purposes. When somebody from our tribe, we're talking about in primal terms now, when somebody in our tribe tells us, hey, I think tigers are in this area, you're going to be a little more paranoid and a little more alert. And that's perfectly okay. It's in our human psychology. But it's a very subtle effect, but over time, it will build up. In that sense, you already know this place is haunted. Thus, you will start to become very delusional. Another thing would be perceptual illusions. Illusions that kind of change your perception. Let me give you the definition. The misinterpretation and creation of delusion. The experience of unusual sounds, shadows, seeing faces, and unordinary things could lead for your perception to be changed and to kind of perceive something to be scary and supernatural. An example of this would be, again, we're back in that abandoned house. You're a little paranoid because I told you it was haunted. You're just walking around the halls of this very cool mansion that is abandoned. And then you turn to your left because there was an odd noise coming from one of the rooms where nobody should be, or is at least. You look, and there's a face staring right back at you, coming from that dark, ominous room. So what do? You run away because we don't want to deal with that. But you come back and you shine a light at that room, and it was just graffiti. You saw a face and something that wasn't a face. And again, this is for cautionary reasons. Our minds are kind of hardwired to detect faces even when it's not there, because it comes pretty handy when it comes to survival situations. I mean, if you're walking down the woods and you start hearing footsteps around you, you're going to be on high alert, and you're going to want to have that facial recognition on you for sure. We want to recognize a threat, of course. So in our minds, we could kind of create delusions, create shadow people, create these things that may or may not be true. What we're trying to do right now is protect ourselves from the possible dangers that are around us. And even if that means there is no danger at all, our minds may play tricks with us simply to get us out of that haunted house, because we don't know what the ghost could do. The ghost, they could come, they could take you and scare you, and we don't want that here. So we're going to create delusions so you think there's a ghost, just in case there is a ghost. That's what the mind wants. Now let's go over it. So let's just start off with the first question that arises from philosophy, which is the fact, not the fact, but the question that, are we just blood, bone, and flesh? Or are we more than just that? Do we have a spirit within us that only controls the physical reality, or not the physical body that we have? If this were to be true, we see spirits just controlling these meat puppets that talk to each other. And in this case, I would be a meat puppet, you would be a meat puppet. Anyways, our spirit would need to go somewhere else, somewhere that isn't the physical world, because the spirit wouldn't exist in this physical world. It would exist in a spiritual world. Spirit isn't something that we could actually see. It's something that we could only feel. It's something invisible, but yet so strong. And that idea probably has inspired the idea that spirit is separate from the body. That question, I don't really know. I can't prove that unless I were to die and experience that for myself. But unfortunately, I have not died. Fortunately, I have not died, okay? And we simply also have to take into consideration the idea that we actually just made this all up. We just made up the idea of ghosts because we're too scared of death. If you're scared of death and then you just think to yourself, oh wait, but there's ghosts, you're gonna be like, oh, so there is something after death. We don't know what happens after death. We have our ideas, and this would be one of those ideas. The idea of ghosts was made by all cultures simply out of a byproduct to kind of comfort ourselves into the idea that, yeah, we'll die, but we'll become ghosts at least. Another thing to take into consideration would be the fact that our eyes, our ears, our perception as a whole, it's very complex. It's a very complex instrument. And when something is very complex, of course, it could break very easily. An example would be, let's take your watch. Just a normal wristwatch right here. And then we compare it to a rock. Which one do you think would break faster if I were to drop it from 5 feet? I think it's going to be the watch. That's not the best of examples, but the watch is going to break because it's very complex. It's a lot easier to break. And that means that it's more likely to commit an error. And our eyes don't often commit errors. I could see pretty well. But sometimes when we're in those situations where we're a little paranoid, things are not very cool, very spooky, where we want our survival instincts to kick in, we might be a little deluded. Your eyes and ears are very complex and will malfunction in order to keep you safe. Yes, you could say that. You could explain that away when it comes to something that I only saw, or I'm the only witness who saw this. But like when it comes to a group where everybody saw something, that's when things get a little spooky, get a little scary, because it's not very likely or very possible to explain something like that away, because everybody saw this thing. There's no way everybody's sensations, perceptions were all tampered with at the same time. You know, like if I start seeing a chair levitating in the middle of the room and I'm with a group of people and everybody saw that thing, that's obviously reality. You cannot do nothing or explain that away.
I was like, oh, it's just the wind.
Now, looking at these evidence, these pieces of evidence.
Jack, who were you touching earlier? What was her name? Your mom?
Is this spirit?
We have full-on conversations.
I mean,
Yeah.
tweet.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Okay, good. Thank you. Step away. Step away, please. Thank you. Light up 2 colors if you hear my voice, please. 2 colors. 2 colors.
These entities with these ghosts. Now you might think like, oh, this could be easily faked, and I'll give you that. And in that case, I'd like to share to you a little story of mine because it's just unexplainable to me. Well, I've had my own fair share amount of paranormal experiences, but I never had one with a group. And it was when me and my friends, we decided to go out to the desert. We were just hanging out, and it was like one of those deserts that people just decide to leave their furniture out and let it just stay there and decay. And it was kind of weird. It was very weird. It was very ominous, very eerie. And it was night, by the way, and we're just there in the desert. We're not far from like civilization, okay? It doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel right to me at all. We start hearing whispers. We start hearing voices. I turn to my left thinking there's somebody there, like somebody called me. They didn't say my name. I don't recall what they were saying, the voices, but I was just hearing like, I think I heard a little girl laugh. I remember that for sure. But just very freaky stuff was going on, okay? And I wasn't liking it. And the people around me, they were hearing this stuff too. And it was just, what is going on, you know? It felt like something didn't want us there. I didn't feel welcomed in that desert that nobody seems to be an owner of, at least. And then I'm there, and I'm just there with my friend who is now a Navy person. We pray for him. I was talking to him, and he had his back turned against like these bushes, like a very dark, ominous part of the desert. And then all of a sudden, sand gets thrown at him from his back, and I was facing him. He was facing me, and he just looks at me like you can't see my eyes, but he just looks at me like, what the hell was that? I was just so scared because I knew that all my friends, all 6 of us, they were behind me, so there was nobody behind him, not somebody that we knew at least. I got very scared, and I just got him, and I pushed him to the side and I said, there's somebody there. There's somebody there. And all of us just look. We were just spooked. I thought it was a real person. And then we look, and there's no one there. We point all our flashlights at the direction that the sand was thrown at him. It was just sand. It was kind of weird. But we sent out our big, very strong friend. I don't know how much he benches. Like 500 probably. But anyways, we sent him out, and he doesn't find anything. Nothing. Nobody was there. And it was a very weird moment because none of us could have thrown that. I witnessed it. He witnessed it. We're not delusional. Somebody threw sand at him. That person silently, invisibly walked away from the scene. No footsteps, no nothing. I can't explain that, you know? I can't really explain that. And that's how it's very hard to explain the paranormal. It's very hard to see whether or not the paranormal is real because we don't really have these things that could prove it, but we don't have these things that could disprove it. And it's just kind of this weird line where it's just mystery and unknown. And if it is proven, then like it's going to be proven, you know? Like, but when it's not proven, we can't do nothing to prove it as paranormal. And this is where I just have to set this in the middle, you know? Like, I know I said like I was going to show off the truth, but the truth is that we don't know nothing about this world. We truly don't know everything. there could be something invisible, and it feels like there is something invisible that we cannot see, but we are in touch with in a way. And it's important to know, and it's important to have an open mind when it comes to these things, because like I said, we don't know nothing. New things will arise, because there was one time where we used to think we were the center of the universe, but later on we actually learned that that isn't the case. That is not the case at all. And in this case, we might think, oh, this is the only physical reality. But who knows? Maybe in 100 years from now, we will actually scientifically break through the paranormal realm or something. Who knows? Keep an open mind. Ghosts are real. My biased opinion, okay? If you don't believe in ghosts, at least be open to the idea that they could exist, because we don't know nothing, dude. I'm glad you watched this video. I hope you enjoyed. Do not piss off the ghosts, okay? Thank you for watching. Sleepy time when and she's breathing, fire. Oh I like blew the flame into the